The Importance of Hands. Written by Austin Martin, Marcy Costello, Ipsa Gussian, Prinashu Mehi, Ida Marches, Terence Wu, Desarthi Mutharson, Ruchira Nandasiri, Cheon Park, Rosalie Sullivan, David Sapina, Armita Yousefi, and Yash Yoshi. Chapter 9. Current Research on Hands and its Disorders. Video games as a means of rehabilitation for hands. The number of people that require some sort of physical rehabilitation is growing, owing to an aging population and an increasingly sedentary and/or basic repeated movements in working conditions. Think of a person spending 8 hours a day making the same basic motions on a computer keyboard. A requirement for rehabilitating function in the hand is repetitive motions. The problem that this has is that simply making motions in the hands over and over can be quite boring, and may prevent a level of engagement that would see a person engage in enough repetitive motions to actually gain a therapeutic effect. This is unfortunate, as to gain a therapeutic effect, the motions practiced must not be done repetitively, but continuously as well. Podogazzi and Sornail 2021. This is where video games could be helpful. Video games typically require repetitive motions, and tend to be more engaging than physical exercises engaged for their own sake. However, as one might expect, the typical game for your PlayStation or Nintendo console, since those games may let you practice repetitive motions, but they don't necessarily require you to practice the repetitive motions you specifically need. The actual setups that use infrared, depth cameras, gloves, and other sensors. This can be quite costly equipment, and thus is unusually limited to use within a hospital. There have been advancements, however, that require less expensive and difficult to produce equipment. The input methods are numerous. Kinetic devices, sensor gloves, and leap sensors can all be used. Podogazzi and Sornail 2021. Use of VR. There has been some research into possible therapies for those who have cerebral palsy. The disorder affects more than just the hands, but fine motor skills in the hands are often adversely affected, along with other difficulties. The recent advancements in VR, virtual reality, technology has led to some explorations of its possible application of children with cerebral palsy, as it is thought perhaps gains could be made based on the principles of brain plasticity. There does seem to be mixed data on whether or not VR interventions are effective with children with cerebral palsy. It may be more effective when mixed with conventional physiotherapy. However, these findings have been on general benefits, and not specifically focused on developing the use of hands. There are some findings that may indicate that VR can improve usage of the hands, but they still need further verification. It does not seem that more intense regimens of VR usage are more likely to produce positive results. Rantham et al. 2019. VR has also been used as a method of rehabilitation for those who have motor difficulties with their hands after a stroke. The tools used are leap motion sensors with Unity software, allowing for games that have a therapeutic effect. It does seem like there may be positive effects, although further study is needed. Rakib et al. 2020. Exoskeleton hands and high-technology gloves. One method of rehabilitation that has been recently explored is exoskeletal hands. These devices fit over the hands and may help guide the hand in desired motions, assisting in the hand making certain flexes and extensions. They use EMG sensors to track the position of the hand and use the data to help guide the movements of the hand. One particular exoskeleton system, the Hexois system, was developed to help those who needed to rehabilitate their grasping motions. This worked by having the system mimic closely how the brain approaches motor function. This could certainly lead to a better quality of life for stroke patients and others who have motor problems in their hands. The exoskeletal glove can be resized in its palm and finger components outside of its default size range for those with hands that are either larger or smaller than the default sizing. Burns et al. 2017. A similar system uses two gloves, one on the affected hand, sensory glove, and another on the unaffected hand, a motor glove, and then uses data from sensing the motions of the unaffected hand in order to map out how to perform the therapeutic motions in the affected hand. The time it takes to rehabilitate fine motor coordination can be lengthy, and progress can be slow, and traditional therapies might have the patient
Sample complete. Ready to continue?